In today's video, I want to show you guys this Browey 600 watt hour power station with a built-in solar panel. What's up everybody, my name is Dan, welcome to Freely Roaming. If you're new around here, you'll find videos about tips and tricks on full-time vehicle-based traveling. Whether it is van life, overlanding, or RVing, we've spent thousands of nights while camping in our travels. So you'll find videos on how to thrive while living off the grid. Lastly, I'd love to share my decades-long content creation experience as an adventure travel creator. Our family has been doing exactly that since 2008, and we started this channel to share with you all that we've learned during that time. If you're interested, you can find our travel vlog channel at youtube.com/mollymish. So I've reviewed a lot of power stations on this channel. In my personal opinion, it has changed the way we travel. Always having electrical power ready on hand has been a critical part of our life on the road. For the majority of these power stations, they all sort of have the same form factor. For a while they were called solar generators, and to me that's always been kind of a misnomer because a lot of these solar generators don't actually come with solar panels. And they're called generators because, like a gas power or a diesel powered generator, it provides electricity. But a more appropriate name that has been adopted around the industry is power station. Because they are just batteries that has to be plugged in to recharge, calling them a solar generator is really not appropriate. Until this Browey product that I received. Oh, this is pretty heavy. This is actually something that I will call a solar generator because it has an integrated solar panel. However, I will say, just like these little portable battery banks that you can put in your pocket that has a little built-in solar panel on it, this folding solar panel setup isn't that practical as a sole source of power. However, in a pinch, this actually will charge up this power station partially. Because what you have here is a 615 watt hour battery. It's a lithium iron phosphate, but this solar panel is only 30 watts. To probably charge up this power station, you're gonna need at least 100 to 150 watts of solar. So before we get too far into it, let me give you guys a closer look on this unit, and I'll give you guys the specs on what it all has. Like I said, this is a 615 watt hour, more specifically 614.4 watt hour battery bank. It is lithium iron phosphate, rated up to 3,500 cycles with 80% capacity after those cycles. Has a total power output of 700 watts, and that is split between the DC output and the AC output. The built-in solar panel is rated for 30 watts. To charge this, you will use the DC input. There is only one DC input port, and it's a DC 5521 port. And that DC input port has a range of 12 to 24 volts at up to 4.5 amps. The most you can put into that port is 108 watts. So that's actually quite slow, but we'll get back to that a little bit later. The AC output is a pure sine wave inverter. It's 110 volt at 60 hertz, and it's rated for 600 watts constant with a 1200 watt peak. The car output plug has a 12 volt output at 10 amps, so that can output at 120 watts max. There's also two DC 5525 ports. Note that this is a different size plug than the DC input, which is the 5521. Those two DC output ports, barrel ports, can output 12 volts and 10 amps max, and that is combined. There is also a USB-C output port with power delivery at 65 watts. There are a couple of USB-A ports that is Quick Charge 3.0 compatible that can output at 18 watts. The operating charge temperature for this power station is 32 degrees Fahrenheit on the low end and 113 Fahrenheit on the high end. While its discharge temperature, it is 14 degrees Fahrenheit on the low end and the same 113 Fahrenheit on the high end. The dimensions are 17.2 inches by 13.3 by 5.6, and it weighs in at 23 pounds. So I actually really like this form factor. Like I said earlier in the video, I'm getting a little bit tired of the same form factor, and in fact, if you're gonna store a battery station away, a cube shape is kind of an awkward shape to be able to store into a vehicle. So this one with kind of a suitcase shape, I actually kind of like, but because it's a suitcase shape, there's a couple things that I don't like about it. Being this form factor helps that it has a bigger surface area on the side for this folding 30 watt solar panel. However, all the output ports are on one side, the narrow side, and then on the opposite side you have vents for air to flow through, which is probably good for ventilation and cooling. However, the space where you have all the outputs in the LCD display is pretty small. 2 USB-A outputs, 1 USB-C, and it's not bidirectional. And it has 2 barrel ports for output, 1 barrel port for input, and only has 1 AC outlet for the sine wave inverter and only 1 DC outlet. So as far as being able to charge a bunch of stuff at the same time, this one just doesn't really compare to some of the other power stations. And the other downside of this, I feel like the display is pretty small compared to some of these other ones that I've seen. But what it makes up for is it makes up for its ruggedness. It is easy to carry, it is rugged, it's splash proof, it has really good capacity for the size, and it has my preferred chemistry, which is lithium iron phosphate. And it also has pass-through charging. It has true pass-through charging, but it does not have UPS mode, which means when you plug it in to charge, you're not getting the AC power to come out of your AC outlet. You're always using the inverter for your AC power. So with all those pros and cons out of the way, let's put this power station through its paces and see what it's made of.
Looks like it's not a regulated output, 11.5 volts. We'll see how it goes when it gets lower. This is holding at 11.5 volts. It says I'm drawing 115 watts here, and it says on the power station that I'm drawing 123. So there's probably about a little less than 10% of inefficiency here. So if this is to be believed, we're going to come out at probably 10% less than the rated capacity. See what happens. 11.5 volts though, that's not changed, so hopefully this is a regulated output, just low. 4 hours and 39 minutes, and we got 535 watt hours. I didn't catch it when it stopped, so I don't know what the voltage was, but I'll charge it up a little bit and see if it's at 11.5. But yeah, that's about what I expected, like 15% less than the rated capacity. It's supposed to be 614, I think. So we got 80 watt hours shy of what it's supposed to be. Okay, 11.4 volts. So it is kind of regulated at 11.4, 11.5 volts. It's a bit low, but at least it doesn't drop to something super low like below 10. Oh, yeah, look at that, 11.5. So I just put a little bit of charge back in so I can see what the voltage is when it's really low like that. And yeah, this is so 87% of our rated capacity. Got a couple computers and a fan plugged into this now. It's drawing 172 watts through the AC outlet. I'm using this to monitor its kilowatt hour usage. Let's see how much it gets. 5.5 hours in, we've only done 476 watt hours. But this is flashing like it's gonna die soon. So we'll see how much we get out. It might be less than the DC draw. Capacity test is done. Let's see what we got by plugging it in. Oh, I think we just passed it. 536 watt hours. That's pretty close to the DC output as well, so it's about the same amount of overhead between the DC and the AC out on this unit.
There you go, that's the Browey C600 portable power station with the built-in 30-watt solar panel. I really like it. I think it's a really cool device. I do wish that they would modernize it, add some more of these features that new modern power stations have. Besides, the solar panel does feel kind of outdated. Because of that, I would say that this is not good for multiple people to use because of the limited output capabilities, meaning the plugs that you can physically plug into. Because it has a 600 watt capacity, you could plug in a power strip if you wanted to run, let's say, 3 computers that's charging at 200 watts each. But that's just something else you have to bring. What it is good for, I think it's great for car camping because it will pack really nicely in the trunk of a car. It has great capacity, but it does charge pretty slow. At a maximum charge rate of 108 watts, this will take easily 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 hours to charge, depending on how fast you're charging it at. What this is not good for is probably not good for a power backup system that you're going to use at your house or your apartment. It does have reasonably good capacity. I would say this is probably like a medium size power station, with the higher ends being over 1,000 watt hours. And some of these lower ends that I've been trying throughout the summer has been around the 200 to 300 watt hour range. And I feel like those power stations run out of battery entirely way too fast. So it's nice to see this one has plenty of battery capacity for a power station this size. So there you go, that's the Browey C600 power station. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. If you want to get more specs and see more photos of this, I'll put links in the description on where to buy one and also to the manufacturer's website as well. Thanks as always for watching. Hope you guys are having a good day. I'll see you in the next video.